Sonos has finally made a pair of headphones, the Sonos Ace headphones. But even though they look amazing, are they amazing? Let's find out. What's up, internet? I'm Brian McDuff, aka BMac, and welcome to another video. So yes, indeed, today we're taking a look at the new Sonos Ace headphones. Sonos's first pair of headphones ever. And at first glance, things look pretty much exactly how you would expect them to look from a pair of headphones from Sonos. They look plush, luxurious, comfortable, but as we all know, looks aren't everything, especially when it comes to tech. So are the Sonos Ace headphones as great as you might hope they are? Let's discuss. Let's get right into it here, starting things out with the Sonos Ace headphones design and how these headphones look and feel when you're wearing them. Just looking at the Sonos Aces at face value, you gotta admit, they look pretty amazing. They look sleek, they look stylish, they look very modern, and the earpads themselves are super soft to the touch, and everything is very comfortable when you're wearing them. And this probably has to do with the fact that the earpads are made of memory foam covered in a vegan leather material. The earpads themselves do also have an anti-fingerprint finish, which is awesome to have here, especially with the amount of oil that your fingerprints or around your ears can leave behind. And usually earpads are fingerprint magnets, but not so much the case here on the Sonos Aces. There's like nothing left behind. That keeps them looking nice, and speaking of looking nice, they do also have a pretty minimal branding here, with just the Sonos logo itself being barely visible on the backside of the right ear cup, unless it just catches the light the perfect way. And just like the Sony WH-1000XM5 headphones or the Apple AirPods Max headphones, you do also have a friction rod adjustment system here for adjusting the size in the Sony Ace headphones, with the friction rod itself being made out of a nice shiny metal material that adds to the overall stylish Ace aesthetic. You also get some multi-axis rotational capabilities here with the ear cups themselves, which adds to the overall level of customized comfort that the Aces can provide. All of this with wear detection built in, and on the bottom left ear cup, you're gonna get your USB-C port and your power button, but on the bottom back part of the right ear cup, that's where you're gonna find your action button for actually toggling your listening mode, as well as invoking your voice assistant, alongside a pretty cool slider style switch for either lowering or raising the music, as well as for playing or pausing your music or skipping or backtracking. It's seamless, and I'm actually a huge fan of how this was implemented here. Not something I think I've ever experienced before, so loving to see that here in the Sonos Aces. And therefore, design-wise, I gotta say, Sonos did a fantastic job in designing this first pair of headphones of theirs. Not much, if anything, to really be upset about. But how about performance? What kind of tech specs are the Sonos Ace rocking, and can they live up to modern day headphones expectations? The Sonos Ace headphones offer a Bluetooth 5.4 connection with support for AAC, SBC, ALAC, and aptX lossless audio codecs. Also with the ability to listen to lossless audio over USB-C with the included USB-C cable. But I gotta say something here. I do wish Sonos included a longer USB-C cable. Yes, I have plenty of USB-C cables laying around, but when you're spending this kind of money on a pair of headphones, this thing's only 2.5 feet, and it is not long enough to actually go from the headphones when I'm wearing them to my connected smartphone in my pocket when I'm listening to music. It's just, it doesn't work. It works as a cable, but doesn't work functionally. It's too short. But putting that aside and going back to Bluetooth here, you do also get multi-point support, which allows you to have simultaneous connections when using the Sonos Ace headphones, perfect for you multitaskers out there. And if that's something you want to take advantage of, you could actually set that up in the Sonos Companion app, which also will give you access to a few additional features worth checking out as well. Immediately upon opening the Sonos app, you'll see your Sonos Ace headphones, your battery level, and what noise control mode you're currently in. From here, you simply click on your headphones, and then you could go even deeper into your headphone settings themselves. You could change your headphone's name, your noise control toggle modes, your custom 2-band EQ balance with loudness enhancement, as well as head tracking, Bluetooth multi-point setup, your hardware controls, and updating your headphones with any software updates that are available. It's also worth noting that within the Sonos Companion app is actually where you can configure your Sonos Ace headphones to actually replace your Sonos TV speaker if you wanted to watch your favorite TV content while listening through your headphones. But do keep in mind that this is only possible and compatible right now with a select group of Sonos TV speakers, So I consider this to be more of an add-on feature if you're already a Sonos soundbar user, as opposed to being a standalone feature because it's not something you could use just right out of the box. You will have to get one of those compatible Sonos TV soundbars in order to take advantage of that. Of course, you do also have a microphone built into the Sonos Aces, and in case you were wondering what that microphone quality sounded like, this is what the Sonos Ace headphones microphone quality sounds like. This is raw audio recorded directly into the Voice Memos app from the Ace headphones themselves, so hopefully this gives you a pretty good idea of what you'd expect. So all in all, what I'd consider to be solid performance here out of the Sonos Ace headphones is checking off a lot of those boxes you'd want out of a modern day pair of advanced headphones. But we all know that all this is really only as good as the overall sound quality of the headphones themselves. So how do the Sonos Ace headphones sound, and is the sound quality something you'd be happy with? With a name like Sonos, you probably would expect the bar for these headphones to be set pretty high as it relates to sound quality. So after several weeks of use and testing, I can honestly say that the sound quality of the Sonos Ace headphones is okay. Just okay. The thing is, the sound balance itself seems to be pretty nicely balanced. You hear a very solid representation of frequencies across the entire frequency range, from even deep sub bass as low as like 15 hertz, all the way up to the high trebles to like 16 kilohertz. I did find myself wanting to dial back the treble a little bit and wanting to boost the bass just a little bit, because I did find the trebles to be slightly aggressive on certain songs, and I wanted a little bit more oomph out of the lower section, so that is one change I made. And I do wish there was at least a 3-band EQ adjustment within the Sonos companion app instead of just the 2-band adjustment we have, which is usually the norm, by the way. Usually a minimum you're gonna have for EQ adjustments is gonna be a 3-band EQ adjustment if you're allowing that in the companion app to begin with. So kind of weird that we only have 2 bands of adjustments here instead of 3. But besides that, the biggest problem I've noticed with the Sonos Ace sound quality doesn't even have to do with the sound balance itself, and instead has to do with what I experience as just a very narrow listening experience. What I mean is that the music, sounds, and just instruments in general sound like they're only coming at you from one direction and being projected directly into your ears. Things just don't really sound expansive and wide, which makes the overall soundstage sound just rather dull and, to be honest, rather boring. It's not that the sound quality is bad, it's just that the listening experience itself doesn't really excite me. And I found myself wishing that these headphones got just a little bit louder at times as well, because I am constantly finding myself maxing out the volume at 100% volume. You do have that loudness enhancement setting within the Sonos companion app, which is supposed to improve the listening experience, but that's gonna be for when you're listening at lower volumes. So I rarely find myself even being able to take advantage of that because I'm not listening at those lower volumes. At the end of the day, whether you're listening through Bluetooth or through that USB-C lossless streaming connection, I just found the Sonos Ace headphones to be a little boring. Not bad, just boring. And I think for their price, especially when you're comparing these to other headphones options in their price range, I was hoping the Sonos Aces just to deliver a more expansive and overall more exciting and better listening experience. Credit where credit is due, however, one area where the Sonos Aces definitely dominate has to be within the active noise cancellation category. I will say that the ANC performance on the Sonos Ace headphones is top notch. Arguably some of the best active noise cancellation I've heard in a pair of headphones in quite some time. Nearly all of the ambient and environmental noises that ANC could cancel out were being canceled out by the Sonos Ace headphones, and you are left with a pretty blank slate, which you almost perceive as absolute dead silence. The ANC on the Sonos Ace headphones, I gotta say, is top notch and in and of itself, fantastic. There's also awareness mode, as Sonos calls it, which is essentially their version of transparency mode. That's solid as well in the Sonos Ace headphones. It gets the job done, but almost has like a tunnel-like effect, a very narrow effect, which makes sense when you consider the narrowness or the tunnel-like soundstage we were just talking about with the overall listening experience. It's a little bit jarring, not the best transparency mode that I personally experienced, but it gets the job done and it's acceptable. But with all these features and all this tech built in, what's the battery life like, and how long can you actually expect your Sonos Aces to last when you're listening to them? The Sonos Ace headphones are advertised at being capable of up to 30 hours of listening time with ANC or Aware mode turned on, which is very much on par with what you'd expect out of these higher tier wireless headphones on the market. And you do also get super fast charging through USB-C, with the Sonos Ace headphones actually being able to go from a completely dead 0% battery to a completely full 100% charged battery in just about 3 hours. And you don't even have to wait those full 3 hours. You could actually get 3 hours worth of listening playback on just a quick 3-minute USB-C charge. Another feature that the Ace headphones have that I like to see here is a built-in auto off feature, which will, obviously as the name suggests, automatically turn off the Sonos Ace headphones if they're not being worn and if they're paused for at least 30 minutes. Not too much to be upset about here with the Sonos Aces as it relates to battery life. They're very much posting numbers you'd like to see in a pair of wireless headphones these days. But with all this having been said, here are my final thoughts on the Sonos Ace headphones and whether or not they actually live up to their Ace name. When it comes down to it, the Sonos Ace headphones are not a bad pair of headphones. They actually have a lot of strong areas that you could be happy with. But ultimately, what it comes down to for me personally, with any pair of headphones, is going to be the overall listening experience. And unfortunately, with the Sonos Ace headphones, the listening experience just hasn't impressed me. Yes, they have a very balanced sound profile with solid representation across the entire frequency range, even with some rumbly sub bass that's commendable, but that's not the entire equation. And as we've discussed, the narrow soundstage leads to the sound balance to be a rather boring listening experience that just doesn't seem to sound expansive and immersive enough for me to be all that excited about. But if you're looking for a high-end pair of headphones and you're not trapped into the Sonos ecosystem, I would probably say think twice before diving in with the Sonos here, because there are some other enticing options. But if you wanted to see the latest deals, prices, promos, and information for the Sonos Ace headphones, you could of course always head to my affiliate link, bmac.link/Sonos Ace, or of course, as always, there's gonna be clickable links in the video description box below and in the comment section below as well, so check those out. But with that having been said, these do feel pretty darn comfortable, so maybe I'll just wear these for the time being. Not a bad experience, it's not an amazing one. That's it. I will see you guys in my next video.